Welcome to another episode of Women Investing in Women. My co-host Robin and I are deeply moved and always excited to bring week after week stories and impact women are creating around the world, and how women are tirelessly lifting themselves up and in the process lifting each other up. And you are absolutely going to love the woman we are showcasing today. Robin, please take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I am so thrilled to have Jasmine Stringer here. She recently, just this year, graduated from the Master of Applied Positive Psychology program, the same program I went through 5 years ago. And so we are MAP sisters. And we were both at the conference this year in October, which was actually the 20th anniversary of the MAP program. And she had taken her research from her capstone and put it into a poster. And the title of the poster was, "They say black don't crack, but she needs rest." And her poster, her capstone was on research on special issues, additional issues that black women face, and how we can help ameliorate those issues. And so I said, oh my gosh, we need to have you on our program. And so we're so glad that you're here. So Jasmine, tell us, what inspired you to focus your research on your capstone on this? They say black don't crack, but she needs rest. What led you to this issue?
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's an honor. I actually referred to my capstone thesis as a love letter to myself. So I'd like to say that first of all women do need rest. There were some interesting things in the research that bubbled up for Black women when we talk about this strong Black woman schema. And I knew that, oh, wait a minute. When I learned about that, I was like, that is totally me. I've worn strength like a badge of honor for years. In fact, I used to wear this strength bracelet every day, and it's strength on both sides. I mean, I loved this bracelet, and it's like, you give strength to the world, you give strength to yourself. But I think in wearing strength as a badge of honor, I forgot that not only did I need care, did I need rest, but that I was also deserving of those things. And we hear a lot of things about like the importance of rest, the importance of sleep, but really, what does that mean to rest? When you think about resting, and I love to hear your thoughts before we delve into my research, but we hear this, but we don't really understand what it means, or at least I did not understand what it meant to rest. And so I wanted to provide a framework that could be used to help people practice rest. And the number one audience in mine, and probably was not the best way to do, it was very selfish, was me. Like I said, it was a love letter to myself, rooted in science.
So that's interesting you bring that up, Jasmine. We have all women here. We know a woman's life is very, very different compared to a man's life. We are put on this earth to carry so many more responsibilities, not just the paid job. And so to answer your question, to me, what rest is, I will take a step back and define culturally. I come from South Asia, right? The Hindu tradition. We're brown people, right? We're somewhere in between with an East African ancestry. So what we are raised to believe is the divine is inside of us. Each of our soul is divine, and the relationship with the divine is the most important one we will ever have in our life. That includes meditation. That includes doing things that reconnects with everything the divine has created. So gardening, cooking, walking on earth without shoes so that we ground and we get the vibrational energy from Mother Earth herself. All those are part of being in a place of rest to embrace peace, because peace and happiness come from inside. It's not something you get from other people. So growing up in that culture, it was part of how we practice life. And so rest is not a separate and apart concept. grounding and being present with the divine within is part of daily spirituality practice. So when you hear that and tying that back to your research, what thoughts come up for you?
So first of all, I love that. My faith is Christianity, and I'm not a Bible scholar, I will say that, but I think in Christianity that we often miss the Holy Spirit. Like we talk about, God out far, we talk about Jesus, but we forget about the Holy Spirit. And I believe the Holy Spirit is the divine in all of us, or the light. And we should be having more conversations about that. So I love that you shared that about your upbringing because, I firmly believe in the scripture, in God I move and have my being. And I always say that I'm just a vessel. So even today, I'm just a vessel doing the work of my divine God. And so thank you for acknowledging that. And then when you talked about practices of gardening, of walking and cooking, those are things that when we talk about the rest framework that I developed as a part of my research, REST is actually an acronym. So REST stands for, the R is for recovery, the E is for emotional agility, the S is for support, and the T is for time. And so those activities or practices that you shared, gardening, cooking, walking, and especially walking outside the ground and connect with Mother Earth, are things that would constitute the recovery aspect of the rest framework. Like, what are those things that you do to nourish and recharge your body, mind, and spirit? And so I love the idea of cooking because I love to cook. I lost my father, so I probably should have prefaced this. I lost my father at the beginning of my MAP journey. He had a brain tumor. My dad was an amazing cook. He was like a chef. And so I think that my love of cooking is a gift from him. But, cooking a lovely meal and like for me, being able to sip a glass of wine while I'm cooking it and really taking my time is much different than like rushing home and I'm like, oh my goodness, I gotta get something on the stove and on the table because my husband's a farmer and I don't know wherever we are in the world, 6:30, he's like, it's time to eat. And I'm like, oh crap, it's 6:02. What are we gonna have? What are we gonna have? So that's a different type of recovery in cooking. But so really, what can we do where we can show up and truly be present? And again, give our bodies and our minds and our creative cycles an opportunity to recharge.
Yeah, I'm loving everything that you're saying. And in the Christian vein, um, come unto me and I will give thee rest, or my burden is easy, my yoke is light. So
Mm.
sometimes, so we are missing the picture in many ways, I believe, in the Christian world as well. And listening to what you've been saying, what bubbles up for me is we often are faced with many demands on our time or many things that we have chosen to become involved in, where we then are obligated with our time. So, my question is, how do you find the ability to find rest even when you are really busy? How do you find, is there the notion of finding an element of rest even though you're moving and you're doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Robin. So, Robin, you mentioned that we know each other because we both went through the MAP program. And so when I created this framework, I created it um, to be used similar to PERMA. And so do you want to explain PERMA or do you want me to explain? I'll let you explain it, Robin.
Okay, so PERMA, PERMA, is an acronym for the research on what makes life meaningful, what makes life worthwhile and worth living. And is research done by Martin Seligman, amongst other people. P stands for positive emotions. E stands for engagement. Are you doing something that you're really interested in? R stands for relationships. M stands for meaning. Do you have something purposeful, meaningful in your life? And then the A stands for accomplishment. Are you doing able to do something that feels worthwhile? So that's PERMA. And the more PERMA we have in our life, then the better we feel about life. Doesn't mean that there's no problems or struggles, but that we are doing well in spite of the struggle, and we can still have a good life even though we're faced with challenges.
Right. And along that line with PERMA, it's not that, yes, we do need all of these things, but we need different doses as individuals. Some of us, I get high off of, in a positive way, off of positive emotions in relations and accomplishment. That's like my jam. That fills my cup. And so when I was creating rest, I wanted to be something where people could get different doses. Like this is a formula, and depending on where you are and the type of person you are, you may need different things. And so time is an aspect of this framework because the research really talked about this concept that was new to me called time poverty that women of color struggle with. And the time poverty concept is that we never have enough time because our to-do list runneth over. And so it's that juggle, like, wait a minute, gosh, I would love to go for a walk, but I've got this report to do, or I should do these things with my kids. Or maybe I should be meal prepping. Like, we don't have enough time. So, this time poverty, like the constant need to be producing and in action comes into play. And so when we think about like how do you practice rest, it starts by recognizing that, wait a minute, this is a practice. So I've got to be intentional about this. And so maybe it's that I am scheduling time to practice rest, or I'm going to take a little micro practice and I'm going to try to get outside and I'm not going to walk 30 minutes, but if I'm working from home, every 2 hours, I'm going to take 10 minutes and walk up and down my street. That's going to be my micro practice because that's going to help me get into the habit of practicing rest. Or I'm going to start telling people, like, this is a specific way that you can support me. This is what I need you to do. I think about one of my girlfriends. Um, her and her husband have been in marriage counseling, and she said one of the things that the counselor suggested is that my husband start cooking dinner 2 nights a week. And I thought, wow, that's great, but it took marriage counseling to get to that point. I'm not judging their relationship, but sometimes we need that outside guidance. And so him cooking dinner 2 times a week is that support that she needs to help her get some additional time to practice rest because she gets to pause.
It's interesting you're bringing marriage as a collaborative endeavor because it truly is. Marriage is a partnership, right? So I am listening to what you're saying and applying it into my own life. And what I am coming up with is time is the only thing in our life that we can never get back. So, what I program myself to remember is I need to know where I'm investing the time of my life, and is it meaningful, and is it congruent to my dharma? My dharma is my sacred duty that includes my fulfillment, my God-given gift, all of that wrapped into one. So, does my sacred duty get fulfilled? And am I replenishing myself when I'm investing time? Because time is the one thing I never get back. And when I start approaching life that way, I start looking at what are the two things I can do together. So while I'm cooking, I have bachata music on and I'm dancing. My husband and I cook together. We're waltzing while baking. And we do things that we can do together. I jokingly say you can walk and chew gum, but you can't walk and run at the same time. Pairing the things that go together, pairing the things that bring joy, even if it's things you have to do, how that kind of a concept fits into what you're talking about.
That fits in beautifully because that's like the support aspect, the fact that we need affirming relationships. So you have a affirming relationship in your marriage with your spouse, and that's wonderful. I was thinking about my husband for the past 2 weeks. I've been battling a cold. He's been battling a cold. But for the past 2 Fridays, he's helped me with various crafting projects for extracurricular activities in my life. So my best friend and I host the epic annual cookie exchange. And for some bright idea, I decided that I don't know if y'all have seen like the photo booth boxes made out of a brown shipping box, like on TikTok or social media, that I wanted to create this. Like the cookie exchange, so we had to have this box for the cookie exchange. So last week he's helping me cut off laps and spray paint. And so even though we were involved in, a project, and I was like, honey, does this take you back to when your kids were little and you were doing 4-H and science projects? He was right there with me, providing support in the midst of it. Then last night, I'm making a board because, it's holiday card season. And normally I put the cards up on a door, but this year I want to do something different. So I went and got like those trifold posters and I'm hot gluing ribbon. And there he is right there helping me as I'm measuring the ribbon and, flipping it over and helping me get it right to the edge so it's right there. So some would say, "Oh my God, that is so stressful. Look, what are y'all doing? Y'all don't even have kids over in that house." But it was important to me, and he was showing up right there, supporting me, and we had some fun. Like, we laughed, like, push it over a little bit more. He'd tell me, don't put too much glue on it. I mean, we got in great arguments about the concept of how to spray paint. Do I go around? Is it one? I mean, but it was fun and it was loving and it was engaging. But more importantly, going back to the rest framework, it was S. It was support.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And I love what you said is that it was important to you, and so it was important to him. Even though if it didn't exist, it probably wouldn't be important to him. But I love that. I love that notion of support. I'm wondering when you were doing your research and you're doing your writing, was there something surprising that came up that you weren't expecting when you first went into this?
Yeah, I actually did not know, like, I've heard of like strong black woman, but I did not know that this was actually a research-based schema, the strong black woman schema. I was like, wow, there's so much research back there that backs this up. So that was a shock number one, that it wasn't just common language used, that this was research-based and it had a name to it. And then also, again, I mentioned it, like this idea of time poverty, because originally when I was working through the framework in my mind, I thought I was going to talk about time being this gift, that we have, and we only have so much time. The research really took me down the path of time poverty, and what does that mean? And then I would say the third shock, which was all of these things um, being systematic. And it's like, wow, we need systems change. We need structural change. Like this idea of the strong black woman, this is ingrained in the system. Time poverty, ingrained in the system. And I was not expecting this to lead me to want to drive systems change, which it has. It's opened up a new path that I wasn't expecting to go down.
That is absolutely fascinating. And as somebody looking at the American lifestyle as an outsider coming in and trying to understand and grasp, there are a lot of Black women who have to be strong because they are running a whole household by themselves, right? So socially, it has been created that way. As we bring this to a close, Jasmine, can you please share with us what guidance or advice you have for Black women that they don't always have to be strong, that it's okay to let people in, but knowing who to let in, and also how to get a hold of you?
Yeah. So I'll end the way we started this. I said that this was a love letter to myself. I mentioned my dad and his illness, and I'm an only child. And as some of you may have known who have dealt with like caregiving, I like to say that in this sandwich generation, I'm an open face sandwich because I'm not bookmarked with kids. And I needed support. And it wasn't like, well, yeah, I did need like physical support, but I really needed like emotional and mental support. And at the time, I didn't realize that I was doing this. I thought, gosh, this is Jasmine. Here I am. I'm being needy again because this is me. But I started a text thread with some of my friends, and not all of my great friends because I have different groups, but I would put like one person from the different groups of friends on the thread and just ask them to communicate like any important updates, because it seemed like, sometimes we were getting information every single day. Sometimes I would, my day would start out one way, and next thing I know, I'm running to the airport because I need to get on a plane to go to Atlanta. I needed prayers. My dad needed prayers, because, again, going back to my Christian faith, it was very important. And we were asking and believing in a miracle. And so I started this text thread. And it was just like, hey, this is what's going on. This is where I am. Sometimes if I was sitting in the hospital, like, I'm bored. Anybody got a joke for me? I mean, just all things on this text thread. I won't say very basic, some of it very serious. And through this process, so many of my friends told me, they were like, Jasmine, you really modeled what it is to ask for support and to show what it looks like going through this journey of caregiving. And so I would say, where do you start? I think start where it's easier for you. Is it easier for you to start with, like, okay, what are those things that I can do to refuel and refill my cup as a part of recovery? Or maybe it's this concept which we didn't even discuss, and I'm not going to open it up, emotional agility, because this really gets me excited. Maybe y'all will have me back to talk about that, emotional agility. Maybe it's the awareness of my emotions and really using them as a bridge to get to a positive state. Or maybe I'm going to lean into support. And who's going to be my support team? I'm going to work on putting a support team in place. Or it's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to work on reclaiming my time. And I can't commit to reclaiming a lot of time, but I'm going to commit to reclaiming 45 minutes a week. And I'm going to start with a bubble bath, 45 minutes a week of just candles, lights off, nice bubble bath. Maybe I'll listen to music, or maybe I'll put my iPad up and Netflix and chill in the bathtub. But that's going to be my time for myself that I'm reclaiming. So choose one aspect and commit to it.
That's beautiful. And as Cass is going to wrap this up in just a minute, I'm so glad that we are map sisters, and it's dawning on me that everything that you're saying is really applicable to everyone, not just Black women. And can you tell people how they can get a hold of you and learn more about you and your research?
Yeah, it's super easy. I'm at jasminebrettstringer.com. That's Jasmine, Brett, Brett, Stringer, Stringer.com. I'm also on a lot of the social channels. That's Carpe Diem, JBS, like seize the day, Carpe Diem, JBS, Jasmine Brett Stringer. And yeah, I think I'm pretty Googleable. I like to say that. It's not even a word, but you can find me. Type my name in Google and something will come up, and hopefully you'll get me the message and I'll respond.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. It's been such a delight and an honor to have you featured here. And I know your information, your research is going to help shape women and their way of thinking, and maybe even the transformation they're going to embrace for the new year. As we approach the new year, everybody's thinking about, how do I make my life better? So, our audience out there, go find Jasmine, go find her research, invest in yourself, because no matter how important you think you are for the entire family structure, you need to be healthy and rested in order to do your part. So please invest in yourself first. And to all the women out there, this holiday season, give yourself the gift of rest with every aspect that Jasmine just talked to you about, and fill your cup and step into the new year, embracing your own power so that you can live a life that is both fulfilling, joyful, at the same time impactful.